dominant fashion, no less. We have Omega Esports on the right side of your screen, going off against Nexplay on the left. When we have an Aurelion Soul actually banned out here first, as well as a Graves. Huh. Okay, interesting. And then starting off our pick stage, we have the Lulu picked first here, followed by the Camille and Oriana. And as you can see, that's Omega Esports is considering the next picks right now.
I think the Aurelion Soul is a respect ban against Nexplay Esports. We've seen it from the qualifier, not the qualifiers rather. It's playoffs, right? Against Liab Esports, wherein I think Uzi was the one who used Aurelion Soul go into the game with dominating fashion. So I think it's a respect ban that is really, really strong against Nexplay Esports. And you know what? D2, it is once again the battle of hero pools. It is once again the battle of champions on who is gonna take it home to the semifinals. And for the viewers watching at home right now, this is once again an all-around ban. So once you've used it on game 1, you can't use it for game 2 anymore.
Yeah, that said though, there's a few interesting picks here. So you know, the typical pairing would be Kaisa and Lulu, right? But you know, now we have a Lulu and a Misfortune, which is, you know, reasonable. It's pretty decent, right? Then we have the Kaisa Janna on the other side. I feel like this might actually hurt Nexplay in the long run. I know it's weird to say because it's not like Janna's a, you know, super high priority pick, but at the same time, we could see, you know, for instance, Braum and Alistar being picked, you know, or being banned, excuse me, next game, and then they're kind of stuck. You know, maybe you have something like, you know, Lulu and Braum banned, and then an Alistar picked up by Omega, and then that means that they're kind of stuck. They can't even pick a Janna. I feel like, weirdly enough, picking Janna kind of limits their options going forward, which is a strange thing to even think about.
Yeah, I do agree on that point. And you know what? We're seeing Nexplay Esports come through with Omega's draft, if I'm not mistaken, on the series number 1, right? It's the Lulu, the Olaf, the Misfortune, the Zed, and Akali. This is, I think, exactly the same draft. D2. I'm not sure if Omega Esports is currently on to the right side instead of the left side, but considering the draft is just exactly the same, it's a battle between the draft. You know, who can use this better? Is it gonna be Nexplay? Is it gonna be Omega? We can't really know for sure.
The one difference is, I believe, the Aurelion Soul. I'm getting my games mixed up, by the way, because like both of these seem to have such a dominant first round series that not really I'm mixing the games up in my head. In any case, regardless, let's just talk about, regardless of who used it. I believe you might. I believe you're correct, but we could just talk about the reasons why it's like so powerful, but at the same time it can be a double-edged sword, right? Because obviously the side of Omega has, and we're talking about the right side here. It's kind of hard to tell because Nexplay is just an A, and Omega is just have like an Asia Brawl logo. So we're talking about the right side here, and you know, all of them are capable of doing massive damage, and you know, and in particular, the Zed and the Akali are capable of getting in, getting out of a fight, you know, very adeptly. But it's not the beefiest lineup, so it, obviously in that regard, it can be very dangerous to run, right? Because you can get yourself in trouble quite a lot here. This is interesting. So is this Garen pickup here? Is that a Garen jungle?
I think it's gonna be the Garen Baron than Camille jungle.
Camille jungle doesn't make much. Dave, this is not a you know, a mix up in the. It's sorry. It's finalized. Okay, this is not like a situation where Soraka was, you know, it was shot. Soraka was shown on the screen, but it was actually Olaf. This is going to be either a a Garen jungle or a Camille jungle. I highly doubt it's any of the other three. So, I'm a little bit lost on this one. So Camille, obviously, Camille can jungle, but we've rarely seen it before.
Oh, there it goes. Camille's gonna go jungle.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll see how this works. We have seen Garen jungle in the past. That's why I assumed that would be the case. So that said, I'm wondering if this Camille is going to end up being, a split pusher type of jungler role. If you know what I'm saying, right? Like maybe they go for the 1-3-1, but with Camille in that role instead of the typical mid. So that could be definitely the case.
Yeah, I think to add on to that one, I think Camille would wait for a level 4, just try to grind into the farm, grind into the jungle rather, and wait for level 4. If she goes level 4, she could go into lanes and gank out other people with the ultimate,
I think you
locking down
think
the enemy.
level 5. Level 5 is when the ultimate comes up. So
5 rather. Sorry.
Yeah. In any case, seems like both teams are playing pretty conservatively here, trying to make sure that they don't get potentially ganked. You saw that Omega was actually pretty far forward to just make sure that, or to kind of preemptively head off any sort of invade scenario coming out from Nexplay. Obviously, they have the Olaf, so it can easily just get in there. But looks like a lot of damage coming into this Orianna and mid here, which is pretty surprising actually, because it wasn't necessarily just Lulu doing damage. I think it was like mostly the Zed. So Orianna biting a little bit more off than she can chew there.
Absolutely. And right now it's gonna be the triple conquerors for the side of Omega on Kaisa, Orianna, and Camille. Fleet footwork for the Garen, and of course for the Janna we have the support Arun. And I think this is the typical smart Omega thing that we've seen from like series number 1. They've done this and they're gonna do it once more.
Yeah, hopefully that works out for their cause. Lots of damage coming out here onto this Mid Fortune coming from this Kaisa here. And it's honestly kind of an even situation, right? Obviously, Misfortune is a menace in that dual lane, but at the same time, having that Janna and Kaisa combo, it can be very devastating as well. So I wouldn't be surprised to see either side kind of take the advantage here. Usually it goes to one side or the other in the early game, but it looks like it's somewhat even, though Misfortune's coming off that lane a little bit. You're going to try to pressure into the Camille, but Camille does go ahead and get away, which means that it wasn't on your screen, but Misfortune missed a little bit of gold there.
But yeah, I think right now if Janna gets the knock up, gets that tornado against the enemy team perfectly, I think Kais could follow through with the ultimate plus his AoE burst damage potential against the enemy team. I think they need to wait for that Lulu to waste her ult, or if she's not there, to try and make some plays, because if the Lulu's ultimate comes through for the Misfortune, it's gonna be very difficult to burst down.
All right, well, we have the Zed getting some decent damage onto the Orianna here. Once you get kind of level 2, level 3, Zed does quite a bit better against Orianna. It's just making sure you don't get extra damage from those auto attacks early. So that's a good sign here if you are Nexplay, just making sure that they start to win that matchup, which is pretty big for Zed. You really want to be able to one-shot people when you get into these skirmishes and trying to pick off the opponent. But not a whole lot to talk about here at the moment, as neither team is really being hyper aggressive. In particular, Omega seems to be wanting to prioritize just getting their Camille nice and farmed, because he isn't your typical jungler in that as far as jungle speed clears is concerned.
And now the Camille is actually level 5 already, so we're probably gonna expect something to happen in the next minute. For 4 minutes or 4 minutes and 30 seconds of the game, we're potentially gonna see Camille gank out bottom lane or potentially even mid lane in this aspect. It's hard to maybe gank out the top lane because of the Akali's invulnerability time frame, because of the smoke. So yeah, that is something to be expected, and we need to have our sights onto that Camille later on. But D2, Infernal Dragon first. Drake off the game. It's gonna be big.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of times you can kind of give away that Drake, but in this particular case, Infernal being arguably the strongest one, allowing that extra damage, it'll be a huge boon to whoever takes it. So you know that both of these teams are very intent on taking it. Looks like Nexplay are the first one to kind of jump onto there. You can see the ward there from Omega in the area, so they potentially know what's going on, but no one's actually in the area for Omega. Instead, they're going to go ahead and let Nexplay take this. Nexplay realizes this. They're going to have Olaf solo it down. And you can see in the minimap here, Nexplay is pushing down this bottom lane. Over on the top lane, Camille has been pushing along with the help of that Garen there. So a bit of a trade on both sides, but Nexplay coming out slightly ahead, given that they're able to take down the Infernal Dragon for free.
Smart Omega at that point can't do anything, so they decided to just split push in the top lane because NXP went in for the early reset. They've seen the dragon timer, they've seen the countdown. You know what? The dragon is up and running. We're going in for the reset. Let's buy some items for now and go for the dragon. And with the early reset, they have the early advantage onto the spot of the dragon's pit, and that has stated their dominance onto that location. And on top of that, I think the member of Smart Omega was one on the top lane, and the rest was onto the jungle, the bottom side jungle. So I think they already have the member disadvantage if they're trying to go for a contest at that point.
Well, off screen, we actually had Zed killing out the Orianna. Looks like Orianna was a little bit too out of position in that situation. And it seems like both teams are half committing to having their Orianna and the Zed, their mid laners, actually go and split push, which is a huge advantage here for Zed because you can catch out the Orianna in open space. And as you can see, Omega actually backing off of that plan now, not having the Orianna do the split pushing anymore. Nexplay, I was wondering which team was going to be more aggressive, but it looks like Nexplay is the more aggressive of the two, despite the fact that both were hyper aggressive in their early round matches.
And now it's gonna be Smart Omega going in for the Rift Herald. While NXP is hovering here, D2, we have a potential fight to occur. It is gonna be a contest coming in from NXP.
Yeah, the fifth member is actually coming in here. Big bullet time coming out from Miss Fortune as they're jumping on the back line. Down goes Orianna, and in comes the Zed as well as multiple members are extremely low. They jump in, the Wild Growth goes down as well. Camille follows, and only Janna is left standing as 4 members have already fallen. I don't even think it's worth it here for Nexplay to commit to that last actual member, but that was a dominant fight from, oh, never mind, they go for it anyway. That is an ace. That is a 5-for-1. Nexplay showing their strength.
Absolutely. Smart Omega taking the Rift Herald. NXP said, sure, we're gonna take the A's down for the drain for our team. And they've gotten it. They've gotten a turret in the process as well on the top lane. So it's a matter of taking a good response for the side of NXP against Smart Omega on that objective.
Yeah, I just love the patience coming out from the Misfortunes. She's just standing there like, yeah, we know. They almost baited the take of the Rift Herald, right? It's almost like they didn't want to take it themselves. Are we?
All right.
That looks like we are back. Anyway, what I was trying to say was, it seemed almost as if NXP didn't want to take the Rift Herald, right? They wanted to allow multiple members of Omega to come back, and right when they came back, Misfortune just lays down the bullet time onto 3 members, and then that was all she wrote.
Yeah, it's just their action reaction from NXP, which is perfectly executed by their team at the moment. So I think currently Smart Omega needs to, wait for an opportunity to come through for their team, to wait for a dominant 5v4 situations, or
no way he gets away. No way he gets away, right? No way he gets away, all right? What? You're kidding? No. Ooh, hello? Oh, okay. Finally goes down in the end. Very well chased there by the Camille, actually, going full distance on that wall hop there. Looks like Camille's going to go ahead and drop the Rift Herald there as well. Good use of opportunity here by Omega, pushing into that vulnerable side lane, despite the fact that they're pretty down in gold, and obviously the Dragons as well as the second one goes over to Nexplay. Omega's doing a reasonable job at kind of taking little advantages wherever they can, even though they're still behind.
Yeah, it's just about of trade-offs for Smart Omega at this point. NXP going in for the Dragon, sure, we're gonna go for turrets instead, right? I think that alleviates the balance of the game. They're trying to, match up with NXP. And yes, NXP would have greater advantage when getting that Dragon with the permanent buffs throughout the game. But still, Smart Omega is slowly, surely slowly but surely going in for those comeback potentials with the gold that they accumulate throughout the turrets.
The weird thing about this game as well is that we have pretty much a 1-3-1 situation on both sides, right? Because we have both Camille and I mean they're gonna have Camille and basically the Orianna going for the Camille and the Garen going for split push, and then on the other side for Nexplay we have Zed and the Akali going for that as well. So it's kind of a weird situation where neither team is really going for a full-on team fight. So it'll be interesting to see who actually commits to that.
And now the Baron would be up. A quick reset coming in from Akali would give her or him the advantage when it comes to a fight. But you know what, Smart Omega just chilling onto the tower, which is actually very smart. They understand that they have the 5k gold disadvantage against NXP and a 2 dragon buff disadvantage as well. So it's a matter of respecting once more the enemy team and waiting for an opportunity to come through, wait for a mistake from NXP to come through before they could act up, before they could actually initiate a potential comeback play against the enemy team.
Right. Neither team has a great play to go for here, right? Neither has an objective. Dave, if you can just show us the gold amount, I kind of see how fed the Kaisa is. Well, never mind. Hold on. I thought the Kali trying to go in for a lot of damage, actually using the bounty fruit to get her out of dodge there. But yeah, taking a look at these gold amounts, the Camille actually has the most there. Kaisa's reasonable. It's kind of blurry for me, but it looks like it's around 8.2k. But the size looks very actually balanced here for Nexplay. Not many members like super high, other than the Zed and Misfortune there. So really nice spreading out here as we have a bit of a gank cutting off the members of Omega. Camille able to go ahead and get out of there, but Garen not so lucky as he does fall to the Olaf. Ult comes out here from Camille. It looks like Stasis coming out. Can stay alive. No, gonna get taken down. The Akali is forced down here. So good retaliation coming out from Omega. Let's see how consequential these deaths end up being.
Yeah. And the Garen would be down, so that is a potential advantage coming in for the 7XP. Oh no, never mind. It has been a 1-for-1, so it's that even for these teams right now. And actually very interesting to see. Kaisa actually went to prioritize the GA instead of damage. So she sacrificed a potential first item BRK and went it for the GA instead. And I think this is good, relatively good, especially since NXP keeps on dominating the early game, and having the GA would have you for safety in terms of a matchup.
Yeah, you actually see the GA on the Misfortune as well. You can. It's perfectly reasonable if you look at the opponent, right? If you're the Kaisa, you're potentially worried about a Zed jumping on you, the Akali jumping on you, even potentially Olaf jumping on you. Speaking of jumping on, Hexa comes out here for against the Akali. She used this try to get away, jumps away at the last moment. That's going to be death here for the Camille. Can the Akali get away? She actually uses the flash in order to make sure she tries to do so. Olaf is chasing down this Garen, misses the axe, picks it up, tries to go for him once more. Looks like this Garen really has nowhere to go here as he is getting completely chased down. Actually running back to see if Akali was potentially backing, but she was not. She was already in base. The action continues. Zed trying to take on to a lot of damage going down onto this Kaisa, but she's standing strong. Actually gets a bit of a heal from the teammates, and they're continuing to push Nexplay on the warpath, pushing down into. And that means that the Kaisa is going to go down to this Akali as she is back in the picture. The Janna is in trouble as well. So too is the Orianna running for her life, but they get massive damage. That is a huge ult. As our screens are getting blurry, bro, it's kind of hard to tell what's going on. They're pushing in, and the Orianna is getting extremely low. The Janna already fallen, and that is another 2 kills to Nexplay's name. Wow, they were not happy about losing one of the members, and they really took advantage there.
Yeah, and Smart Omega has to pay the price. Garen went in too deep onto the map, onto the jungle side, and even used the flash to try and get the kill. But at the end of the day, he didn't get it. And with Garen down, it's basically a 5v4 on the top lane a while ago, wherein they keep on getting those kills against Smart Omega and taking home more of right now, securing the Baron buff as well.
Yeah, it's going from bad to worse here for Omega. Omega continuously jumping into fights that they can't possibly take. Camille actually did get the GA popped on Olaf. Again, we're having some technical difficulties, so our screen's a little bit blurry here. But it was it was about as good of a fight as Omega could have taken near the Baron there, and still they got completely wiped out. They're down a substantial amount of gold, almost unrecoverable at this point. They're down the Baron. They're going to lose yet another dragon. That's the third dragon going over to Nexplay. And Nexplay, they're continuing their dominance from the first round, and this time putting it to Omega.
Yeah, and I think at this point in time, they're gonna have a hard time. Right, you have the misfortune to go for the bullet time if they're gonna go for the ganks. If they're gonna go for massive amounts of play, you have the Olaf as a frontliner for NXP, so it's basically a safe play for NXP at this point in time, wherein they have a lot of gold, they have very strong tanking capabilities with the Lulu as well to try and emphasize those abilities for the side of NXP. But of course, we still have the comeback potential to the side of Smart Omega. It may be hard, it may be minute of a possibility to happen, but it can still happen. We still have all the inhibitor turrets up and running for them, so they need to defend this if they still want to win.
Yeah, but they're not having a great time of it now as the top inhibitor turret does go down. Nexplay not giving any room over to Omega here as they're continuing pushing on both lanes. Actually, mid and bottom turret are about to fall. Mid does go down. Let's take a look at the bottom turret here as they're putting all their attention toward it. Going to be jumping in. Actually, going to be regressed upon in return. The re-engage coming out from Omega there, but not going to be enough to take anyone down. And that is the last inhibitor turret. It was a reasonable call by Omega to try to go for it there, but they weren't together as a team, and that means they weren't able to get any kills. Infinity.
I think what better would happen is to go 5-man in a single lane, because NXP was already split up, right? Someone was pushing top lane, someone was pushing mid lane, someone was pushing bot lane. So I think what would have been better is to try and go for a 5-man onto a single lane. Try to get some kills. If you got that kills, convert it into the mid lane or top lane to someone who's also pushing. And with that, you all have the potential to really dominate the member disadvantage of NXP on a single lane. And potentially even save 1 or 2 inhibitor turrets in the process. But they didn't do it.
They tried to defend all lanes at once and ended up defending none. Right? It's like just go for just pick one and defend. And, you got to get some picks there. Omega, obviously it's easy to get in a rut like this, but Omega seems to be falling apart a bit. And we've seen Nexplay do that to their opponents time and time again. We saw it in the first round. We're seeing it now. Even though Omega looked pretty dominant in the first round, it looks like Nexplay is just the superior opponent because they're just making their opponents look bad, just plain and simple. Omega, they look like they're too aggressive early. Now they're looking like they're too passive. And it just feels like they're out of answers going against this dominant Nexplay team. Looks like we might have our final fight here. Oh my goodness, Omega completely caught out in the open and shredded apart by the side of Nexplay. They are on the hunt, and that is nearly all members down here. Looks like actually Omega's doing a reasonable job here. Camille actually taking out the Lulu as well. Down goes our second to last member here from Omega, and looks like Nexplay is looking to push onto the Nexus. They only have 2 versus 1 left. Camille trying to hold strong, but the Nexus is getting lower and lower. They're going to be focusing it down. The GAA gets popped from Misfortune, so too for the Olaf, but it's not going to matter as game number 1 goes to Nexplay.
Wow. What a game for the semifinals, D2 rather. And yeah, I think
I could be D2. It's fine. D2. Anyway.
Yeah, I think it's just the response coming in from Smart Omega was not enough. Coming in from mid game, late game, NXP was taking a lot of dragons, a lot of objectives, while Smart Omega wasn't able to try and make those response any longer. In the early game, it was very exceptional, but when it comes to the mid game, late game, what else can you do when you have a lot of disadvantage? And come a point in time, they were already at how many gold disadvantage, right? 8k gold disadvantage when it comes to like 12 minutes into the game. So that was actually pretty massive. That's equivalent to like 4 items for the side of NXP. And considering you have the Lulu as well, the Misfortune, the Akali Z to assassinate enemy teams, that is just obliteration coming for NXP against a Smart Omega.